Hey everyone, here are 10 of the most brutal Game of Thrones deaths. Because I'll be talking about their deaths, I'm bound to talk about spoilers. If you don't want anything spoiled for you, this is your spoiler warning. If you've seen the show, let's get into it. Number 10, Jon Snow. Although Jon Snow came back to life, his death was one very brutal death. After Jon Snow saved the wildlings from the White Walkers, his brothers of the Night's Watch were not happy with this, and they tricked him and they all attacked him. They stabbed Jon Snow repeatedly. Like the fact that it was his brothers, people that they've taken oaths together to protect each other, and these people were the ones that stabbed him repeatedly in the heart, was something that was so brutal and so hard to watch. And the fact that he was a main character and someone that was honorable and was just trying to do the right thing, and he got this kind of fate was something that added to the overall brutality of it. Jon Snow did not deserve to get what he got in this scene. Number 9, Lord Varys. Lord Varys is one of those characters who just want things to be good in the realm. And the fact that in his last days he was still working to get peace in the realm was something that added to the overall brutality of his scene. And this man died by dragonfire. He did not deserve to die because, in hindsight, what he was afraid of actually later happened. But he died one of the most brutal deaths, death by dragonfire. Whew, it was a brutal death, and I felt so sorry for Lord Varys. Number 8, Jorah Mormont. Jorah Mormont was one of the most loyal followers of Daenerys Targaryen. He supported her from the start up until the end. And when the White Walkers attacked King's Landing, he was the one that still stood by her, protecting her in the midst of White Walkers. This guy was stabbed repeatedly, stabbed so many times by so many White Walkers. Yo, that was some brutal shit. And he just kept taking all the punches and still kept killing the White Walkers that were trying to attack. Man, that's his devotion. He did not fall until he knew that his queen was protected. His death was very brutal death, but he died serving and protecting the woman he loved. And it was something that just added to the overall greatness and brutality of his death scene. Number 7, Shae. Shae was Tyrion's lover, and their love story was one love story that was very complicated. Tyrion wanted to protect Shae, but Shae was feeling like she could protect herself. And Tyrion had to push her away the best way he could by just saying some horrible things to her, and she took it the wrong way. And she had so much resentment towards Tyrion. She lied against Tyrion in his trial, and just did so many things to betray Tyrion. The most painful of all this betrayal was the fact that Shae slept with Tyrion's father. Yo, that was just so much and so hard to take. And Tyrion found her lying in his father's bed. Shocked, bitter, and full of hate at that moment, he strangled her to death while she was also trying to stab him with a knife. Yo, that scene was so hard to watch. The fact that you could see Tyrion strangling her and almost moved to tears, and just even having to say, I'm sorry, after killing her, was something that just added to the overall brutality of this scene. And man, in my opinion, she deserved that death. It was such a brutal death, but she deserved it for everything she did to Tyrion. Number 6, Ramsey Bolton. Ramsey Bolton was one very hateful character. He did so many wicked things to so many characters that we loved. He was a very cold-hearted bastard. That's honestly the best thing to describe him. And when his death scene came, it was a death scene that was so good to see. He first confronted Jon Snow. Jon Snow beat the shit out of him, giving him so many punches repeatedly, beating the shit out of him. Like, it was so satisfying to me. I was like, keep punching him, Jon Snow, keep punching him. Then after that, Sansa had the final say, and she released his hounds that have not eaten for some days. She released those hounds on him, and his hounds, the dogs that I carried, that I treasured so much, they're the ones that brutalized him. They ate him and devoured him. Whew, it was so satisfying. It was one death scene that was very brutal, but man, it was so satisfying because that guy was a bastard and deserved that death as brutal as it was. Number 5, Joffrey Baratheon. From one bastard to another bastard. Joffrey was like the greatest of all bastards. Joffrey was a character that so many people did not like, not just in the show, but the audience as well. We hated Joffrey so much. He was so fuck. I don't even know the adjective to describe him, but he was a fucking bastard, and I hated his character so much. And when his death scene finally came, it was a death scene that he fucking deserved. I wish the death could have been more brutal, but man, the death we got was still a very brutal death. And this is when he was still making life hard for his uncle Tyrion. It was poisoned and drank the poison and he started choking and choking like one of the most brutal chokings I've ever seen in TV history. That poison that they gave him was one hell of a poison. He choked so hard, like you could see his face turning purple. His eyes became wow, like he choked. I'm glad he suffered as much as he could before he died because that was the kind of death he deserved. Even though he deserved a much more brutal death, but this death was still a very brutal death. Number 4, Viserys Targaryen. Viserys was a character that I'm sure everybody did not like. because of how he was treating his sister. He treated his sister like she was nothing, and he was a very proud, pompous, arrogant bastard. And the way he was treating his sister was on that time was added to the hatred that people had for him. And because of this proud nature that he had, he made some very, very terrible mistakes, things that he should have done. He carried a weapon in a place where the Dothraki are known not to carry any weapon, and he was threatening the queen. He was threatening the Khaleesi in front of the Khal. Can you imagine that? What an arrogant bastard! Threatening to cut out Daenerys' baby from her stomach. Yo, in front of her powerful husband. That guy was a stupid fool and he got what he deserved. Khal Drogo people held him down while he was melting some gold in a pot. And after the gold finished melting, Khal Drogo said one of the most brutal lines before killing the character that I've ever had in Game of Thrones. He said, "A crown for a king," and he poured the melted gold on Viserys' head. Yo, that was one very, very brutal and horrible scene, but it was a character that deserved it. He was a bastard. He was a fucking arrogant prick. He was disrespectful to his sister and disrespectful to the whole Dothraki, and he deserved to die. Number three, Meryn Trant. Meryn Trant was one of the King's Guard, and he was a very, very heartless bastard. He was someone that always tortured little girls, and when his death scene came, I was cheering so loudly. Arya had had this guy on his list for so long, reciting his name every night until she could fall asleep. And when she finally got him in Bravos, it was like providence, like God has answered her prayer. And she found him, she tracked him down, and she handled him. She first stabbed both of his eyes, she stabbed him multiple times, then she finally slit his throat. Yo, seeing Arya that we've grown up with, seeing her do this kind of brutal killing was something that was like, yo, this girl is cold hearted. But at the same time, it was something we loved seeing because this is something that this motherfucker deserved. He deserved to die as brutal as he did. Number two, Oberyn Martell. Oberyn Martell was one of those characters that when he was introduced, he stole the scene in every scene he was. He was a character that we loved seeing so much. He was so charismatic and so, so lovable. And when his death scene finally came, he had to fight with the mountain. He was fighting with the mountain and he was beating the mountain. He had the upper hand, but he just wanted to get justice, wanted to get some answers from the mountain, and he got cocky. He got cocky and the mountain took advantage of him. Imagine how strong the mountain is. He used one hand to slap him off his feet and he grabbed him when he landed. He punched him and like half of his teeth got knocked out. Yo, it was at that moment I was like, what the fuck is about to happen? Then he carried him and turned him on his back and he put his hand in his eye. He started pressing out his eye with his hands. And I was like, yo, what the fuck is happening? I was like, Tyrion was just about to survive this shit. And he was pressing his eyes with his head, pressing his head. And I was like, fuck. And to make things worse, he now finally confessed the thing that Oberyn wanted to get from him. He said, Elia Martell, I killed her children and I raped her and then I smashed her head in like this. And he busted his head, busted his fucking head with his freaking hands. Yo, I have never seen something so brutal in my life. Like someone puts his hand in another person's eyes and pops his head. Fuck! I was shook when I saw this and it freaking blew my mind. Honestly, this is one of the most brutal deaths in Game of Thrones. But there's one more death that is so much brutal that I had to put on number one. But man, Oberyn Martell's death was the most gruesome, most brutal death I have ever seen in TV history. Number one, Shireen Baratheon. A lot of characters on this list deserve the deaths that they got. Some characters were very heartless and they deserve to die the way they died. But Shireen was one character that was so sweet and did not deserve to die. She was a very lovable character. From the first moment we saw her, we fell in love with her. She was just a sweetheart. And for her to suffer the kind of fate that she did, thinking about it now is just making my heart ache. It was such a very, very terrible thing to witness. And the fact that she's a little girl, yo, just added to her own brutality of it. She wanted to help her father get what he wanted to get, and her father just sacrificed her. And he didn't just sacrifice her like Abraham sacrificed Isaac. He sacrificed her in the most brutal way. Like, he burnt her alive. He burnt this little girl. He burnt her alive. Yo, damn. That scene was one of the most hardest scenes to watch. And the fact that it was this girl, this little sweet girl that suffered this fate. Yo, at that moment, I fucking hated Stannis and I could not forgive him. Stannis was a character that I liked so much. But after I did that, he burnt his daughter alive. I could never forgive him and I was rooting for his downfall. What he did to Shireen was a very, very brutal thing. And I will never ever wish that on anyone. Shireen did not deserve what she got. So those are 10 of the most brutal Game of Thrones deaths. What other brutal deaths in Game of Thrones do you think should have been on this list? Comment below and let me know. And what other kinds of content or lists would you like to see on this channel? Comment below and let me know. If you watch this video up until now, like, share, follow, and subscribe to my channel for more contents like this. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video. Cheers.